Welcome to the Uncultured Opinions Podcast.
Welcome to the Uncultured Opinions Podcast. Welcome to the Uncultured Opinions Podcast.
And holy shit, guys, we did it.
You downloaded fucking malware on my laptop. I'll challenge the Clintons just like I challenged God. Neither of them are gonna do anything, so it's fine.
He's probably the hottest actor there is.
Brent,
Can't rush masterpiece. You're losing.
okay,
Brent's reevaluating his whole existence right now.
just cancel it and start over.
You know, people like that exist. I saw a leaked video. Why the fuck?
Way too many anime titties.
See, I know things.
Welcome back to another week of Uncultured October. In this week's episode, we're going to be discussing the original It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 remakes. From, what is that, 2016 was the first one?
2017,
It's
2019,
God, my years
and
are
then
terrible.
1990.
Yeah, 90s. And none of us were even born.
I was born in
Is Brent a 2000s baby?
Brent, are you 2000s, baby?
Yeah, I'm a 2000 baby.
Like, are you 2000 or like 01?
He's like
2000.
2000.
When's your birthday again?
September 16th.
Damn. So
I'm
an
20 in
actual-
2020.
So you're an actual child.
Yep, I'm a
Yes.
millennial baby, man.
Millennials are the worst.
Damn.
Yeah, true.
I think technically I'm still a millennial.
I'm more of a boomer.
You're a boomer. You think you're more of a boomer than a millennial?
Yeah,
You were born in '96.
definitely more of a boomer.
I think you're closer to a millennial.
You know what? You know what 90? You know what 96 is backwards?
69.
Nice.
Nice. But yeah, Ethan, I know you want to hit us off with some news this week.
Oh, we just jumping straight into it. There's a
Straight
lot
into
of
some
into it.
news.
there's a lot of news.
Dude, we got a lot to cover.
But it's small shit. But I have a whole list. So this one, okay. So Brent and Sam are against me on this one, but like also some of it's been confirmed. So Spider-Man 3, we got some news for Spider-Man
Oh
3.
my god.
I swear
Well,
to God.
first, I'm gonna preface. We're gonna start with Jamie Foxx is confirmed back as Electro.
Okay.
So like that already raises suspicions. You said there's no truth to the rumors, is what you guys were saying.
Okay.
That we might get a multiverse, but I mean, we're definitely getting Jamie Foxx as Electro, but he was Electro in Amazing Spider-Man. So, what does that mean? Do you think they recast the same character,
Yes.
the same actor from a different
J.K.
movie?
Simmons was J.
Yes.
Jonah Jameson in the original trilogy.
I mean, yeah, but you can't recast J.J. Simmons.
You could. You very well could.
Okay, you know what, Brent? You hear me? Okay, but also, we also have that confirmed that Doctor Strange has taken over the role as mentor in Spider-Man 3. So we've already got a guy who has access to the multiverse.
Bro, they've had access to the multiverse for like
But during this
7 movies.
So the news that I was referring to is that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield have been rumored to have been cast or to been signed.
Bro, I hope they do it, and I hope they fuck with people.
And then but also we also have what's her name? Dunst. What's her first name?
Did you say
Kirsten
Kristen?
Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
You know, MJ from the Toby movie, and then the bad guy, I cannot think of his name, from the third Spider-Man. He's also reportedly cast in it. I'm just saying, all the signs.
I've never heard
But are
those
all
last
these
two
rumors? Yeah, I know. This is what
No, I
Ethan's
literally
telling me.
have it. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, but it's all a bunch of rumors.
Literally, Ethan, I'm telling you, I follow like this is my lifeblood of knowing this shit. But we don't have much
Apparently
time.
not.
No, listen, we don't have much time, so I'm gonna give my piece real quick on all this shit. I want Spider-Verse. I think it would be cool, but I'm so tired of that being the only fucking thing people talk about when rumored. Like, you seriously don't realize how much Spider-Verse is rumored in any single like Far From
I think
Home.
you overhype
no,
it. I
no,
think you
listen,
are over it.
Give
no.
give me my
No, no.
segment. Far From Home literally was the Spider-Verse was rumored, so I couldn't even read a post about that movie without being like, "Oh, is Toby and Andrew gonna show up? Wow, this
don't remember
would
this.
be cool." Even
I
in
remember every part
Endgame,
of
people,
it.
even in Endgame, people were hoping the multiverse was gonna be it.
Dude,
like,
no, they
was
weren't.
gonna happen.
They'd
Yes,
be
you
stupid
d-
to
just
put in the
because-
multiverse in
Just
Endgame.
because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't
Bro,
happen.
do you not listen to anything before the movies come out, Ethan?
Dude, no. There was
Literally,
no,
Ant-Man's like chilling in the fucking.
There was rumors that they
realm.
were going to be in Spider-Verse. I don't remember hearing shit about it being an Endgame.
Then
'Cause
you
you
haven't
don't
fucking
look.
looked at anything. I swear to God, you're so fucking stupid. Brent, it literally, Far From Home, the fucking first trailer comes out, and people are like, oh my God, multiverse confirmed. It's confirmed.
Exactly.
They talked about, like, multiple Earths. Like,
Nah.
people coming from
Nah.
multiple Earths.
Nah, you cap
And it's
it.
like,
You cap it.
I mean, they've confirmed that the multiverse exists, but it's never, like, ever been
I'm telling you,
crossed.
Spider-Man 3 is happening. Also, Spider-Man 3 is filming under the project name Serenity now. If you were wondering, it doesn't mean anything. That's just the project name.
I really hope that they cast Andrew Garfield.
But anyway, moving
And
on.
I hope they
We have.
I hope he just shows up for 5 seconds.
I have a whole.
Like, I hope he just walks across the street.
I have
Or
a,
takes a photograph.
I have a list of 4 delayed movies.
Hold on, let me finish my piece on this real quick. The only thing I'm gonna say on is like I want it to happen, but like it just with the Jamie Foxx shit, it's like, yeah, I mean, I kind of get people thinking Spider-Verse, but it's like that doesn't necessarily mean it. He could just be playing Electro again or something. It doesn't mean a Spider-Verse shit. And also Doctor Strange being in it doesn't really mean it either. It could just be a tie-in for Multiverse of Madness, which is gonna probably most likely gonna focus on Scarlet Witch and what she does in WandaVision, which is gonna fuck with the multiverse and all that shit. Like, and then people were saying like, oh, Sam Raimi's directing Doctor Strange, so that means Toby's gonna show up. Like, he doesn't own Toby. Like,
well, I don't agree with that. That's stupid.
But that's like, see, you don't see this shit because you don't look. This is all the shit people are saying
You're
are
wrong.
quote unquote rumors of why it's gonna happen. Like, I think it'd be cool, but it's like I'm tired of that being the one like thing people jump to. It's like, oh, when are we gonna get our Spider-Verse movie? Like, we don't even need
All right.
honestly.
I get it. I'm just saying, I think it's gonna happen.
Well, even Brett mentioned earlier, it's like Spider-Verse has been talked about, or like the multiverse has been talked about so much.
No, I agree.
And it's like,
I'm just
it starts
saying.
as a theory.
I
people,
think
like,
it's
blow
gonna
this theory
happen
up,
this
and now,
time.
like, every tiny thing, people are like, oh my God, multiverse is happening.
No, I think it's gonna happen.
Multiverse is
I
happening.
think it's gonna happen this time.
Bro, I don't
Anyway,
think it's ever gonna happen.
So we have 4 major movies have been delayed. Fast 9 has been delayed till 2021.
Wow, what a shame.
No Time to Die, the new James Bond movie, has also been delayed. But
Which
I think
just that like No Time to Die really fucking hurt theaters. Like I work at a theater and I got an email talking about how much that hurt us.
But and then also I think we talked about last time, but Batman. No, we didn't talk about last time. Batman got delayed till 2022.
Which
That one
pisses
hurts.
me off.
That one hurts. And then Dune also got delayed until October 2021 as well. But other Marvel news, there's quite a bit of Marvel news actually. I'll run through it quickly. So, reportedly Marvel is offering Ryan Reynolds the largest deal in MCU history. So this could mean he's going to start appearing more in other Marvel movies because it's not just for Deadpool. There's no way if it's the largest deal, it's definitely not just for Deadpool. So we're probably going to see some Deadpool crossover. The Witcher season 2, we got the first look at that, but I'm going to move through that because there's not too much news there. She-Hulk, they are looking for a casting for young Bruce Banner, so that gives us an idea of what kind of storyline they're looking at for the Marvel show.
Is She-Hulk a female Hulk?
Yes, She-Hulk's a female
But
Hulk.
is young Bruce Banner still a man?
Yes.
Okay.
Bruce Banner is not She-Hulk. It's not
Gotcha.
so there is 2 of them, but that means they are going to intertwine. So they're
Okay,
both
so you're
going to
saying
be.
I
In it.
wasn't sure if we were like,
Um,
if Marvel's really exploring their
Hawkeye
LGBTQ
is
ties.
rumored to appear in the Black Widow movie. Apparently, he has an appearance. Maybe. We also have a Jurassic Park movie for 2022. Another one. Interesting one for Thor: Love and Thunder. They will start filming in January in Australia, and it is confirmed that they are going to follow the cancer storyline. So in the comics, in one of the comics with her, Jane gets cancer while she's like becoming Thor or whatever, and they're following that storyline. So that's interesting. There is a 7th live action Transformer film that will be coming out. We already talked about that one. HBO Max, after they bought out DC, this happened a while ago, but they are working on a live action Green Lantern TV series, which has potential. And Kenobi starts filming in March 2021. And that is all the news that I have. But there was a lot of it since we last went over news.
As much as people want a Kenobi show, I just don't understand what it's supposed to follow. Like, I want to see
Kenobi,
more.
it's pretty-
I know. I want to see more Obi-Wan, but it's like, what's the story going to be? It's like, I don't really.
It's about Obi-Wan, Brent. I don't understand the confusion here.
Shut the
called
fuck up. You know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I'm just saying, it's called Kenobi. I don't understand where you are confused on what the movie's going to be about. I mean, if it's
I
called
can't tell if
Kenobi,
you're
it's
pulling
probably
a
gonna be
bit or
based-
you're actually
it's-
fucking being stupid.
Well, I'm just saying, you said you don't understand what the movie Kenobi
Obviously, it's
about,
going
but
to follow
it's-
the fucking character. I just mean, what's the story going to be? Like, what is
It's
he going
probably
to go
gonna-
up against?
Well, see, yeah, okay. Yeah. So I'm assuming it's obviously before A New Hope. It's got to be way before that. I mean, but it's probably going to be after Luke. It's probably confirmed the timeline for it. Probably, maybe somewhere. I don't know. I haven't looked into it at all. But I mean, Ewan McGregor's playing it, so with as long the amount of time that's passed since he played Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's going to be hard to pass him as a younger character. I mean, they could. I mean, it's really, actually, I say hard. It really wouldn't be that difficult.
At least de-age him.
But you know what I
Yeah.
mean, though. It'll probably follow him after Anakin turns. So, just paying for your thoughts.
Rip Anakin.
He didn't die. I mean, he did eventually, but it is what it is.
We all die eventually.
Facts.
All right, that was a long news segment. We had a lot to go over.
That was fine. We're on time.
All right, so what's the next item on the agenda? Are we jumping right into it?
Right into the original.
Right into the original. All right. So first off, initial thoughts of the original. I'll go last. Brandon, go ahead.
I don't want to say it feels pointless, but it's kind of
It's definitely not pointless.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out my stance on it because like I don't hate it, but I don't really like it that much either. Like I might
No,
put it
that
on
seems to be the consensus.
Wait, your stance on what?
the original.
You got me too.
Oh. But like I might watch it again, but it's like I'm not huge on it. It kind of feels like I get why it's 3 hours. There's part of me that's like it needs
I mean,
to be
it's
shorter.
3 hours.
And
It's
Listen,
TV. It's made for TV. It was 2 parts. I mean, like if you put together it chapter 1 and chapter 2, it's
Ethan,
it's
you
longer
get confused because you
the
don't
original.
let people finish talking. Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
Part of me's like it needs to be shorter, but part of me's like it needs to be longer because like it gets so boring sometimes, but it's also when they get to important parts, it's over in like 2 minutes and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like you spent so long building up to this and then just it's over in like a minute. Like I don't understand.
I
Like, I get they're trying to tell like both stories. It just like it comes off as all their weaknesses and like all like it being made for TV, it having the budget and all that shit. Like it shows. It really does. And I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
my
what-
first impressions on it.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I feel like the movie, the original's biggest struggle was it's made for TV movie. It's low budget because it was a TV movie.
Yeah.
And also on a horror movie that is structured around stuff that really needs to be CGI, special projects, stuff like that. Being made in 1990, you're really limited on what you can do. So you really have to get creative. I mean, that's why they chose a lot of the monsters that they did, because they edited the monsters to be, because the monsters are different than what they were in the book, like for each character, as they are different in the newer ones. You know, the monsters are a little bit different depending, like I was going to talk about this later, but I'll just bring it up. Like, one of the monsters was, like, in the book, is one of them's afraid of birds. I think it's Stanley. Stanley's the bird watcher, right? One of the Boy Scouts?
I think so.
I think it was Stanley. I could be wrong. But anyway, whoever's the bird watcher, I'm pretty sure it's Stanley. No. Yeah, it was Stanley.
That would make sense.
Anyway, so his fear is birds. He's afraid of birds. They edited it, one, because they didn't really have a good way to do a realistic giant flying bird where they could put the bird and the character in the same shot. So it would be hard to do that. But also, you know, they're like, you have to get what scares people. They didn't think that was going to hit, you know, a giant bird. They didn't think it was going to hit. But, you know, in the first one, in the original one of them was afraid of werewolves, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's because monster movies were big in the
Oh, yeah.
90s. You know, The Thing, werewolf, vampires. Like, that was big.
Yeah.
That's why they changed in the new one. They didn't think a werewolf would, age. So that's why they changed the monster. So, like, it makes sense. But, like, I feel like they were limited based on their budget. And then, see, that's why my big issue, I have a huge issue with remakes. Because I feel like a lot of remakes don't need to be made. I don't feel that way about most Stephen King movies because almost every remake that they've done has improved the film. Does that make sense? Like The Shining, I don't think they needed to remake The Shining, and I'm glad they didn't. They just went straight to the sequel with Doctor Sleep because there wasn't a whole lot of CGI that needed to be done there to redo it. And they made a sequel based off of the original. I mean, technically, actually, I say that. Technically, the original's a remake because there was a Shining made-for-TV series, and then they remade it, which is the Jack Nicholson one. So it would have been kind of redundant to do another one. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really call it wouldn't. I mean, it would make sense. I would like to see one nowadays, but like, you wouldn't be able to do that much different. Like with it, like with the amount of stuff that you can do with it, computer wise and CGI wise, like it makes sense to recreate it.
Yeah.
Same way with like Children of the Corn, Pet Cemetery. Those kind of movies make sense to remake because you are given so much more opportunities to remake it. So like, some movies, I feel like these are necessary remakes, and I feel like they did them justice.
I totally agree.
I think tangent, but
I think like you said, the biggest thing of remakes is like if a movie, because I think a big aspect of like the older films is like CGI wasn't advanced at all,
yeah,
or even around. So it's like,
I mean, like if you think about it, like some of the scenes with like Pennywise, Tim Curry's Pennywise. Not that his Pennywise wasn't scary. I mean, as a kid, Pennywise scared the shit out of me. But like, the scene where he gets sucked down the drain, like I wouldn't say poorly done. I mean, it's for the age, but like in comparison to what we have now, it doesn't compare. Like you can't compare the two.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
But like, I'm glad. So like, I'm a huge fan of the '90s one. Not because it's the movie. I mean, the movie's not without flaw. It could definitely be way better. But I wouldn't say that because there were movies that came out before it, but I don't know what the first Stephen King film that came out was, but they're not popular among Stephen King fans for the most part. I don't know if you knew that. So like a lot of the movies, Stephen King fans are not a fan of some of the movies because they're kind of inaccurate. Even Stephen King himself is not a huge fan of a lot of his movies that are made.
All right,
Yeah,
I have a
they're
question about that.
yeah.
So, like, I know Stephen King hates most of his movies besides like Doctor Sleep and shit.
I wouldn't say most.
Okay, you get what I mean though.
He hates The Shining.
Yeah.
Like he is. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure The Shining is the one he despises because he hates what Kubrick did with it.
Yeah, it's because they changed the ending.
Yeah, that's right. They changed the ending, so he was
Yeah.
pretty PO'd about it. But anyway, continue with your question, Brett.
So, if he doesn't really like a lot of the adaptations, like, don't they have to get his approval to make the movie anyways? Like, why do they does some movie company own the license to King movies or something? Like, how do they keep getting made if he's not usually a fan of them?
I mean, yes and no. So, I mean, also at the end of the day, he's an author, and as an author, getting your movies or getting your books made into movies is, mountains more in money in his pocket than selling, a book. Like, even if it's a best-selling book,
Yeah.
you got to turn into movies if you want. Like, I'm not saying he's a sellout. By no means am I calling Stephen King a sellout. But like, does that make sense as for part of it? But like, I mean, yes and no. But like, it really depends on the company, on the author, on the contract you signed. So when you sign a contract and you agree to have your book made into a movie, you you really have in the contract it specifies how much control you actually have. So I'm assuming, one, he was a younger author, not young, but you know what I mean? Like that was, when his, like that was more some of his first movies. So he probably, you don't really know what's going on. Like it's an author's dream to have your movie made into, or your book made into a movie. So like, he probably gave him a lot of creativity. But like also once you sign a contract agreeing to let them make the movie, you pretty much stuck them making the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
I mean, sure, they're probably gonna take your critiques into consideration, but like at the end of the day, it's really gonna be up to the it's really gonna be up to the what's it called? I cannot think of the
Director.
not director. I mean, I guess the director. Production company. It's really up to them whether what the hell they want to do with the movie. Like that's at the end of the day for the most part. So like, I mean, we can see. I mean, we can also see the progression. Like as more and more of his movies come out, the more and more he's on board with them, and the more he likes them. Like the remakes, he loves what we did with the remakes. Like he loves It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. He's a huge fan of Doctor Sleep. He really enjoyed Into the Tall Grass, which is the book that he worked with him and his son worked on. I think it's mostly his son, but he was in creation with making that Netflix one. I think we talked about it before.
We haven't watched it.
But he really liked that one. So all the ones that they're remaking now, he's a big fan of. So, but like once you sign, like once a movie company comes to you and is like, hey, I want to make your book into a movie, and once you write out that contract and was like, all right,
I
good,
get
like
what
you
you're
really
saying.
don't have a choice but to let what happens. I mean, you do have a little bit of say, but like, I mean, at the end of the day, what they want to do is what they're going to do because they're the ones with the money.
All right.
But
Yeah,
like-
we can move on from that, but like I get it.
I mean, like, so I like the old one. I think they did a really good job for the most part. I mean, I have critiques of it, but I think they did a good job with what they had with the budget. Like the story's pretty solid. I think. So I was gonna compare the two Pennywises. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to do that after we discuss
doing
both
it
of
again.
them
We already
at
talked
the end?
about
I
it.
couldn't
We're
remember.
doing
Okay. I think the casting for the original one is pretty good. And I say pretty good because I think it could have been better. Also, the difference between child actors is insane. But that's with anything now. Like we have just some phenomenal child actors nowadays. Like
True.
like they're nuts.
I have
Um,
three like main critiques with the film, and I think one of them is the fact that
I do have
in chapter 1 it's like easy to tell like who the kids are, like you know each personality, you know each face, but it's like with the original, besides obviously like Mike and Beverly, which obviously
Why's that?
or shut the fuck up, but like
no, why is Mike obvious?
okay, because
Why do you know which one he is?
because he's the only guy that's not white. Okay, do you
Brent is
are
racist.
you happy with it?
Brent's a racist, confirmed.
Bro, I'm not as racist as fucking
That would've
Kevin. Like, what is that?
Continue.
Huh? You're not as racist as. So you're saying you're racist still?
Yeah, that
You're
was
just
a
not
poor choice of
as
words. Oh, I
racist.
know what you're gonna say. Stop. Jeez. You were saying you weren't as racist as Henry Bowers.
Yeah, Henry
the
Bowers.
kid who called him the N word. I'll say I was not. I forgot.
Yeah,
that
I
was
was
in
not.
there.
I was not expecting that.
I really
was like,
forgot that
Jesus,
was in there.
Jesus Christ.
What do you say again?
The N word.
No.
I mean, that was in there. He yelled that at him a couple times.
Okay.
But
Honestly, it's
I
like,
agree
it's-
with
it was-
I.
It was hard to tell some of the kids apart, especially like Eddie and Stan were like the two where I'm like, who the fuck is Stan? Like I
No.
really don't
I agree
fucking
with
know.
you. This the remake did a better job discerning who is who than the original did.
I agree with that.
I
Well, I think
overall I like
yeah.
the casting for the second one way better. I did have some major issues with the casting for the first. My biggest issue. So, did you either of you read the book?
No.
So,
No, not yet.
so one, I am not a big reader like at all. I've read one Stephen King book, and it was Pet Cemetery. Fantastic book. And I tried a little bit of it. I haven't tried reading it in a long time, but I tried reading it. But this was like early high school was when I tried reading it. It was when they announced. Well, I mean, they announced they were making the It remake in 2012. Like they'd been working on it for a long time before it came out. But anyway, it was like once that news started to get big, I was like, okay, I like the original. I want to try to read it, but like, I'm not a clown person. I don't like clowns. Like they freak me out. Also, the book. I don't know if you tried reading it. Stephen King books are hard to read. Like they're Like
Yeah.
they're. I mean, it is one of his longest books. Like it's long as fuck. Like it is a super big book. But anyway, in the book though, I do remember, and like everyone, I mean, obviously Richie's a comedian, right? He's the comedy relief of the movie. He's a really funny character. I think they nailed the casting with Seth Green as him as a kid. I could not stand his adult casting. His
I
adult
agree
casting
with
was
you.
not funny at all. Like not one joke landed for me. I didn't think he was funny at all. I really.
Yeah.
Now
think-
I liked the adult casting of Beverly, of Mike, and I really liked the adult casting of Ben. And
Yeah, I think the casting
and I
of
liked
Richie in the original is way better than Finn Wolfhard, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, it's like I don't
disagree.
hate Finn Wolfhard that much, but it's like all he did was say fuck. He wasn't even really like the comedic relief. Like I get.
No,
like,
I disagree. His
I don't
character was
care that
funny. He made me.
I don't
laugh a
care
lot.
that he said fuck a lot, but like he wasn't
No, no.
really that funny. Like
No,
on top of that.
I disagree. I feel like he was funny. Like Finn Wolfhard's character cracked. I mean, he cussed a lot, but like that's actually one thing I really appreciate that we're starting to do now with movies that we didn't do before. This is kind of going a little tangent, but The Boys does it really well. Was it The Boys?
I don't know. I don't know what
The
you're
Seth
about to
Rogen,
say.
the Seth Rogen film about the kids in
Oh,
middle
yeah, I
school.
think it's called
Is
The
it just The
Boys.
Boys too?
Yeah,
Also, not Boys.
I think so.
Anyway, that movie, middle schoolers, they're cussing up a storm, right? In this movie, they're like early high school, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're in high school. I mean, that's what kids do. Like, once you start being able to have your freedom and they don't really care if you... Like, once you start to know that you can cuss and figure out the cuss words, you use them all the time. Like, that's just how
Yeah.
it is. I liked it because it's accurate. See, that's where I think we disagree. I don't think they put the curse words in there to be funny, because I agree with you. They weren't funny as much when he used them, but I feel like it was an accurate depiction of how middle schoolers talk, or of how high schoolers talk. You know what I mean?
I didn't.
Like,
I don't
especially
mind that they
kids.
cuss a lot. Like it is a good depiction. That's not my critique. I just think Richie, like all he really did was say fuck.
No,
like, he wasn't really like the.
You're
comedic
totally wrong.
relief.
He said a lot of
Nah.
super funny shit. Like
Not really. He kind of
no,
just said
he-
you're fucking stupid, and then
No,
that's pretty
he,
much
he
it. That's
had
the joke.
solid jokes in there. Like
That's all we say
throughout-
to you, Brent, and it's pretty funny.
No, he
Yeah,
had
that's
solid
facts.
jokes in there the entire time. Like he was like riddled with your mom jokes, I fucked your mother jokes, like shit like that. Like, and it had me rolling, because that's the shit that's funny in middle and in high school. You know what I mean? I totally disagree with you. Finn Wolfhard's character was spot on for Richie, and I'm just gonna jump real quick. His Bill Hader as older Richie, spot on. The best
Yeah.
casting of the entire film, in my opinion, is both castings for Richie.
Yeah,
I
Bill
totally
Hader was
disagree with
pretty
you.
good.
I disagree with you 100%. Finn Wolfhard cracked me up. It's hysterical.
I didn't really mind the actor that much. I just wish she was like written a little bit better.
No, I disagree. He was written perfectly. He was so funny. You're saying he's not funny. He was funny. I totally disagree. But anyway, we're on the first one for a little bit. Backtrack. But
You're the only one that has to backtrack, so
I'm sorry, I went forward. But I don't know. Thought the original, or the 1990 was good.
I mean, I think the original was
Overall.
good for 1990s.
Oh, for 1990s, it was good. I will say the first half outweighs the second half by quite a bit. It kind of gets lost in there. It's definitely more boring. The adult scenes aren't nearly as good, I don't think, as the kid scenes.
Yeah, and
think
I'm
the
starting to
acting-
realize.
I think it's an issue, because the acting's better with the adults, but the kids are more entertaining.
I'm starting to realize I think the story of the first chapter is just better, because like I have that
Oh, for
critique
sure.
with chapter 2 and the second half of the original. Like I think just the original like chapter 1 story is just
By
better
chapter 1, are
in
you
any-
referring to the first half of the movie?
Yeah, I guess like the
Okay,
first
see, 'cause you're
half. Like I know I'm confusing myself, but like I just think that first part of the It story is just better than the second anyway. Like I kind of think about it like small 1-minute tangent with the Resident Evil remakes. Like everyone loved 2, loved the remake, and then when it comes to Resident Evil 3, a lot of people didn't like the remake, but no one really liked the original Resident Evil 3 anyway. So it's like it's not really the remake's fault. That's kind of what I like think about, because I don't really think the second half of the It book is that good if
Did you
I've
read the
disliked
second
it
half of the
twice.
book? Or are you saying like Are you saying
You
the
know what I
story of
mean?
the
Just
second
the
half?
adult story. Like
Oh.
if I haven't really enjoyed it in 2 iterations, I think it's just not as solid as the first.
I mean, I kind of agree. I think I don't know. See, for me, I don't know. I kind of want to stay on, the 1990 for a bit, but I mean, we can jump around. Um I mean, I get what you're saying. Like in comparison with both, like I feel like the first half is definitely better, I feel like, but chapter 2, I'm jumping to, 2019. Chapter 2, I thought chapter 2 was a better movie than the 2017 one, than chapter 1, but chapter 1 scared me more.
That's a terrible take, but okay.
No.
Yeah.
Chapter 1 was scary. See,
Chapter
here's the
2 was not a better movie than Chapter 1.
No, I think it was. I
Okay,
think the
well,
story
we'll talk
was
about
better.
it when we get to it.
But anyway, I don't know. I really do like Tim Curry though as Pennywise. I think his Pennywise is pretty damn spot on. He does a really good. See, actually, I'll wait because I was gonna start comparing him. So
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about those next ones
we'll
yet.
hold off. But
Okay, so we can keep it on the original talk. Here's something that I kind of critique about it, and I want you guys to talk about it. So one of my 3 big critiques next to the acting is, like I kind of talked about in my first impressions, it feels like they spend, and I get it's a budget issue, but they spend so much time building things up and giving us like too many scenes of them talking, and then when it gets down to the action, it's like, oh, they rip out dude's heart, it's done. It's kind of like, what?
I get what you're saying. I think a big part of that is one reason that there's so much dialogue in the first one is one, so they're limited on what they can do cinematically, so they have to kind of make up for it. And also the book is so long, so the amount of dialogue, a big portion of why the movie is so dialogue based is because they're trying to fit in as much of that in as possible, because a lot of the book is like, I'm not say a lot, but some of the book is like lore and explanations and stuff. So they have to fill that in with dialogue in a way that makes sense, where you're not reading it as a narrator, because it's not a narration type film. And like in the book, you kind of get a narration type explaining like, oh, this is this. But like in the movie, they kind of have to adapt it to a way so that you can still get an understanding of what's going on, but without narration, and like kind of make up for that in dialogue. I feel like, I mean, the first one, I feel like, or the original 1990, definitely explains verbally a lot more what is going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like,
I mean, I
I feel like we get a more in your face, hey, this is what's going on, and you know this because I am telling you what is going on. Whereas, kind of in the second or in the remakes, it's kind of, you see it pieced together through, like, because, like, a lot of what we see in. So, like, remember in the original, in the 1991, there's a really long speaking portion where Ben is explaining why we have, when he figured out that it comes back every 27 years. Remember, it's just a very long scene of dialogue.
Yeah.
In the remake, you have dialogue of him narrating it, but it's sped up because we also get picture flashes of what actually happened. Remember? Because like when he sees the burned body, or like the factory that burned down or whatever it was, he's explaining it, but the scene's not nearly as long because he's also flipping through the stuff, and he's in the library, he's flipping through the books, and there's pictures, and then it turns the pictures into live action, so we can actually physically see what's going on. They didn't do that in the original. It's all explained to us. So he's getting a brief explanation of a narration over top of it, but we were seeing it visually, so we can take it in faster. That's where I think that dialogue is, it's long, but I feel like it's necessary. If you would take out a lot of the dialogue, I feel like a lot of the explanation would not be there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I get, like, along with Ethan says, like, you can't really, like, I mean, they can't have, like, a long fight with Pennywise where they can, like, turn him into a bunch of things just because of the fact that you are limited with what you can do animation-wise. So
yeah, I get. I just
that
think
makes
I think its
sense.
limitations are
like
its
that.
flaws. I guess.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, I think that's the biggest part. Like what you talked about, like the reason the remake is b- probably better is the fact that like we can now like you take those limitations out when you do a remake, and like obviously like you change the story up a little bit, just like because you can't just copy pasta it, but you gotta change the story up, but also just like enhance the visuals
Yeah. I mean,
tenfold compared to what you could do in the 90s.
100%. But like that's also it's a very good point that you kind of brought up. But like also when you do a remake, it's also basically it's kind of understood by the audience that we already know what happens. Like we already know the
Yeah.
basis of the story. So, even though I still feel like you could watch chapter 1 and chapter 2 and have never seen it, know nothing about it, and you still can get a full understanding of what's going on, you also, most people have that background knowledge, so they can still go less into detail about what is happening without making. Does that make sense?
yeah, it's like Spider-Man: Homecoming not having like him getting bit by a spider. Like everyone knows that.
No, like exactly. Like that's my biggest issue with sequels is there was a period of time, mostly between like 2000 and 2008, where every sequel came out. Like they were so focused on getting new audiences and new audiences, they would re-explain the entire first movie for like 30 minutes,
Yeah.
so that if you miss the first one, you're not lost. But that shouldn't be the point. But I feel like the same goes with remakes. Is you know you could re-explain it, but you don't necessarily have to go as in depth because if you're not changing the story like crazy, you kind of you get it.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially with something like it or any Stephen King film.
Yeah.
Anything big remake, you don't have to redo it because it's
Yeah.
so like it's such a huge thing.
I do kind of like. I like that since both parts are in this movie. I like how they weave between them, like how like
I
it's
do-
it starts with part 2 where it's like old Mike kind of like you don't really
Yeah.
know it until like a few minutes in. Because I was watching it and I was like, wait, isn't the first kill Georgie? And then I was like, oh shit, they're doing the whole like part 2 is first, and then like
yeah, it jumps
so, like,
around.
So part 2 is like the main part, but like they go flashback and show you what happened in the original, and I kind of enjoy that.
I'm indifferent about it. I like
Yeah,
it and
see,
I
I
don't
don't really
like
like
it.
that.
I like it and I don't like it.
But it also might just be because I am used to
We saw
chapter
it.
1, chapter 2. Like,
Exactly.
I mean, obviously, like I'd seen 90, but it'd been so long, and
Yeah.
then chapter 1, chapter 2 were so recent, and then went back and watched 90 that I'm just used to the chapter 1, chapter 2 structure.
I will say with the 1990, even though I had seen it before and I really liked it, I did struggle to sit through it, and I didn't struggle to sit through the remakes. Even I mean, it's split up in 2 parts, so that's part of it. But I still feel. I mean, I essentially watched it in 2 parts because I broke it up between 2 days to watch it, just because it's 3.5 hours long. Like it's a long
Yeah.
movie
I-
because
I
it's made for
watched it in
TV.
one
But like,
day.
there's also a, there's like an intermission. I mean, it's not in there, but like, there's a clear definition of where it's split, like where the first TV movie ended, and not. Like, you can look it up. Like I looked up where it, what time to stop it because I knew I wasn't gonna sit down and watch 3 hours. Like it's a lot. Even with splitting it up into 2 sections and watching it was still longer. Like it wasn't hard to sit through, but it was definitely harder to sit through than watching chapter 1 and chapter 2.
I think the structure of it is a little weird. Like I enjoy the whole thing, but sometimes the structure got predictable where it's like Mike would go call Ben, and then you would get all of Ben's story from the original, and then once that's done, he would go call like Beverly, and you would get all of Beverly's like flashback backstory kind of thing. Like it did get kind of predictable a little bit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but I enjoyed it for the most part. But like until part 2 like fully took off, it's like you were just kind of like, all right, who's he gonna call next? Like he's gonna give it like what exposition are they gonna spout at us now?
Yeah. I agree. Oh no, I still really liked it. I mean, it's a solid film, especially for its time. I think so. I think the big thing. I think it's a really good movie. It just didn't age as well. But I think a big reason it didn't age well was just because of the CGI limitations it had.
Yeah, I mean, I like that I finally sat down and watched it, but it's still just like like I guess that can be our question now. It's like, would you go back and rewatch it, like if you had to watch that or chapter 1? Like, I get most of us would probably go back in like maybe 10 years and watch it for nostalgia's sake or something. But like, genuinely, if you wanted the story of it, would you rewatch the 90s version?
I definitely would rewatch it. It's not something that I'd be like, I don't need to see it again. I didn't hate it. It's definitely not as good as the remakes. That's a hard comparison you'll see. That most people prefer the remakes.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't hate it. It is hard to sit through, but I would go back and rewatch it. But it's gonna be something that I'm gonna like. It'll be a movie that I would be like, I think I might want to rewatch it, and I'm gonna have to plan ahead to watch it because it's not something you can be like, I want to watch a movie. I'm not gonna. Yeah, if I'm like, I want to watch a movie and I want to be an old one, I'm not gonna pick it just because it's 3 hours long.
Yeah. You'd have to almost just split it up, like you said. Just watch that first half.
But like, I would rewatch it.
Going back.
But I definitely wouldn't rewatch it as much as I would watch the remakes, if that's your question. So yes and no.
Yeah, I agree with Ethan on that.
All right, do you want to give it like an overall rating?
Yeah, just give it a rating for the first one.
I know Brent's is probably going to be kind of low.
Okay, well, what's yours?
Yeah, I'd give it.
Or
I think I'd
go.
give it.
Go ahead, Brent.
I'd give it a 6 out of 10, honestly.
I'd say that's fair.
Yeah.
I could see that. What would you
Like,
give
it's
it?
still good because it's the story of it. It just like, for me on my scale, I guess. I mean, I don't want to ruin my score for chapter 1, but everyone knows it's in like my top 10 or at least top 15 movies.
Every movie's
So
in your
it's
top
like,
10 movies, Brent. Every time we review a
bro,
movie.
you don't check my letterbox apparently. But either way,
I
it's
need to
like,
start doing Letterboxd again. But anyway, continue.
either way, it's like it's still good because it's a story of it. It's just like it's not as concise and like it has a lot of problems where I would just rather go watch the remakes. Like, I guess I'm a zoomer, but it's like I appreciate what the 90s version is, but the limitations kind of just make it less enjoyable for me.
No, I agree. All right, Sam, what would you give it?
I would give it probably right close to Brent. Probably like, just because I don't like whole numbers, probably like a 6.2. But yeah, low sixes. Just for a lot of reasons. Like, obviously, I don't think it's better than the remakes, so it's definitely not going to touch those. I mean, like we said, for the 90s, like, it is a good film. Like, Tim Curry's a good clown. But I don't know, it's hard because I actually, with like a big part of it is like the timelessness. It's just not there, like animation wise, and like it definitely doesn't compare to like something like The Shining. So I definitely go probably like a 6.2.
Respectable. I think
Yeah.
I'd probably give it a 7. Basically, for all the reasons you said, I agree with your all's ratings. Like I was leaning lower 6. The only reason I would push it up to I'd probably give it. I mean, I keep forgetting. We always go out of 10, and then Letterboxd is out of 5. I wish Letterboxd was out of 10. First off, because I feel like a 3 out of 10 doesn't do it justice. You know what I mean?
I say that's pretty on par.
Like a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like a 3 out of 5. But like, I'd be between a 3 and a 3.5. I'm not sure if it's quite a 7. I'd give it. I'm gonna go ahead and say 7, and the only reason I'm gonna give it a 7 is because I feel like Tim Curry's portrayal of Pennywise is just. I would call it flawless for the time. I didn't have any issues with it. He was with no CGI and really at all with his Pennywise. Like, it still scared the shit out of me then, and it's still creepy now. Like,
I have some issues I'll get into later.
And even his, I don't know. I don't really have any issues with Tim Curry's Pennywise. I think he nailed the role. So for that reason alone, I would bump it up to a 7. If you were to take out that factor, I'd probably have it closer to a lower 6. But Tim Curry pushes it to a 7 for me because, one, I think he killed that role. I think he's the reason it's so renowned. I think if anyone else played it, I don't think it would be as well liked as it is.
I agree. I mean, that's a fair rating.
Alrighty. So let's move into chapter. We've kind of already discussed a little bit of chapter 1 and
Yeah, I
chapter
mean,
2.
yeah, we've been discussing
We've been going over
as we
it.
talked
But
about
like
them all.
chapter 1, first off, if you don't mind me,
Phenomenal.
if you don't like me going jumping right ahead and starting off, chapter 1 especially has probably the best child cast I think in any movie. With it being a solely child-based movie doing an R-rated horror film, I think it is extremely hard to pull off. But man, they nailed the casting. So like you were saying earlier, you thought it was a bit hard to distinct who was who. I think every actor that they got to play, I'm gonna jump into chapter 2 here as well. Every actor that they got to play a kid, it fit that character. I
Yeah.
thought it was perfect.
Mhm.
And then the adult actors that they got to, every adult actor that they got to play, in chapter 2 was just the perfect match for the kids. Bill Hader is the perfect Richie, and he matches Finn Wolfhard very well. Ben, even though Ben's character is such different size-wise and structure-wise, the face fit for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like when I saw him, like, I don't know how to, like, when I saw him, so like in the first one, in the original, we see a skinnier version of him, and we're like, and then we're told it's Ben, you know, he introduced himself as Ben. We're like, oh, that's crazy. I saw him and I was like, that's Ben. Now, I will say, preface that with, if you've seen the original or you know about it, you know he lost a lot of weight. So I did know that going into it, but I still kind of knew it was Ben. The face fit, it was the same. Eddie's casting, I think Eddie's adult to child casting was the best, if you ask me personally. That look, the adult Eddie looks like an older version of the kid Eddie, like on point. I thought that was the best one. That one and Stanley were pretty solid.
The only one that like was kind of off to me was James McAvoy. Like I wasn't too big on James McAvoy as Bill.
Really? Speaking
Yeah,
of
it
James
didn't, like-
McAvoy, he is such an underrated fucking actor. Like,
Oh,
holy shit.
100%.
He's in my top, he's in some of my favorite actors, like on the list, but he's definitely in the top of my list of most underrated actors. Me and Sam were talking about it today. Shia LaBeouf is also in my list, but James McAvoy and Shia LaBeouf are probably my top 2 underrated actors. But I mean
That's a nice tangent.
I will say, but anyway, going back to it, I agree and disagree with you. I feel like his casting was a bit off, but I feel like him being the level of actor that he was, I think it made up for it. Does that make sense? So I feel like if you compare him, James McAvoy, and the kid, because he was Stanley, right? No, he was Bill.
Stanley's dead.
Yeah. So, you know, young Bill and James McAvoy, they look different. But I feel like the acting style of the kid and James McAvoy, I feel like they nailed the personality together, which I feel like is the reason why he was cast. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think he acted
Like, it's
really well.
really
I think he
hard
did
to
really
act
good
to
in the
stutter.
I think he did really good in the movie. I just think like if we're comparing like how like much of a lookalike, like how much the spirit of the character looks like in that actor, I think James McAvoy is a little bit
I
the
agree.
weakest.
He was, yeah, I would have totally agree that he was the weakest. But also, I mean, so first off, it's really hard to act a sincere, at least I feel that it would be hard to act a sincere, believable stutter. You know what I mean? I mean, you kind of see that in the original. I don't think either of the kid or the adult Bill nailed the stutter. You know,
adult
it
Bill
was
in
very
the original
forced.
was kind of weird.
It was very forced on both ends, especially the kid. The kid actor could not get the stutter. It was pretty bad. Now, Bill in the remake, I would have thought that kid had a fucking stutter. Same thing with James McAvoy.
killed
But
it,
like
yeah.
I mean, we've seen him in what, Split, where he plays multiple personality. I mean, dude's nuts.
Yeah, he's pretty.
Dude's
actor.
crazy. Like, I wouldn't have picked anyone else to play that role. I get what you're saying though, as far as actor to actor, they look the least alike. Personality wise, I feel like it's one of the better mashups. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Anyway, casting though for that one, incredible. Bill Skarsgård, creepy as fuck.
Dude, he's so good.
Dude, he is
Yeah, I
so.
know.
Also, I was pointing this out to Blair because she watched one of them with me. But like, you know how Pennywise in the remakes he does that fucking eye thing.
Yeah.
Have you noticed it? So like where it's most noticeable because this is the most face-to-face time action we get in the very beginning of the first one where he's talking to Georgie, because that's like a 5 to 10 minute scene. I mean, it cuts back to other scenes, but like we see Pennywise's face a lot in that scene, and the entire time. So he does it with his left eye. So he's looking at Georgie with his right eye, like, and then his left eye always trails to the left, like really far off.
Yeah.
That is not CGI. Bill Skarsgård can actually do that, and he did that.
Yeah,
for
Bill
the entire
Skarsgård
film.
is just fucking. He's fucking mental.
But like, I mean, like, his eyes change color now. That's like CGI and stuff. But
Yeah,
like
of
the eye movement of him moving and looking in a different direction with one eye I mean, he
crazy.
can do that, which is nuts. We see it again in the beginning of chapter 2, where he coaxed the girl with the birthmark on her face.
Yeah.
Under the
The
was that chapter
bleachers.
1? No, that's
still-
chapter 2. That's when he
still-
comes back.
Yeah.
You know, he does it there too, but you really see it a lot in that first scene where he takes Georgie. But like, also, I want to say the Georgie scene where he's running with the boat and when he gets it put together and everything, you know, and Bill helps him, but he doesn't go play with him.
Yeah.
That in the original film and in the remake are very close to shot for shot. Take out I mean, we see pieces in between. The pieces in between are different, but like the
I know
actual
what you're
part
saying.
with
Yeah.
you know, with Georgie and Bill, like to the basement, to him running down, to him getting trapped in the gutter, to them putting the glue on the boat, to the conversation they have is pretty spot on. I mean, I feel like that was
It's
intentional.
iconic.
There's a lot.
You can't really change it.
Well, no, but there's a couple scenes that they kept almost identical in both. I mean, and obviously that was done on purpose, but I liked the scenes that they chose to do it, because they could have done a remake, like shot for shot, and I still think it would have been fantastic. You know what I mean? Just change the dialogue a little bit.
Yeah.
But they branched off, but I don't think they branched off too much. Does that make sense?
I totally agree.
Because like the scene where, who was it? Ben. You know, Ben's dad died in the war. At least in the first one. In the second one, it's a little bit different. He's missing. Not missing, but you know what I mean. He's not
part
in
of
the film.
family. Yeah.
Or he's not in the picture. You know where he sees him in that
Yeah, like
where the dam is.
Yeah.
You know those scenes are also identical as well. That's one that they chose to keep identical. The bridge setup is the same. I'm kind of moved forward to the comparison one, but while it's on my mind, I didn't want to forget it. And then another big one that's almost shot for shot is when Henry, you know, the bully,
Yeah.
when they track down Ben, he cuts his stomach and then he kicks him in the nuts and he flips over the guardrail down the hill.
Yeah.
Same exact scene, shot for shot. Now, when they run into the other kids, it's a little bit different there, but that scene itself there,
Yeah.
shot for shot. And I feel like that one was a good one to keep the same too.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. The chapter 1.
Chapter 1 is just it's so
so
good. It is really good.
It's amazing.
I mean, I'm stunned on the kids' acting abilities. It's just
Yeah, I mean, all of them are doing a great
insane.
job.
I was talking to someone about it the other day. He made a really great point. I mean, kids nowadays have just so much access to like
materials.
I mean, just content. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you see people on YouTube all. I mean, like, you can practice all. Like, you didn't have as many opportunities back then. But like, I don't know. Just the acting's not. Even Georgie, as young as Georgie was, like, the scene where Georgie is screaming "You'll float too" at the top of his lungs, like, it doesn't feel like a kid being told to scream. It feels like genuine fear.
Yeah.
And how a kid that young can fake that for acting is just nuts to me.
Yeah.
But like that scene gave me chills. I don't know. Chapter 1 is insane.
Yeah, chapter 1 is so good. I mean, I know me and Brent kind of feel the same about it. But like, chapter 1 is like probably one of the best horror films, like all around. Like, it's just kind of like, I mean, obviously the story's there, which is like a big part of the story being there is the fact that it's it and like a Stephen King book, so that kills it. But just the film adaptation, like taking it from what the original was to what it is, and like all their different fears, I think, are like spot on. And they do a great job of just like teasing each one. I don't know. I think it's pretty crazy. I mean, and then Bill Skarsgård is like, I don't know.
Dude.
We'll talk about like our favorite It's a little later
So-
on, but like, I think
Yeah, I
he
kind of
kills
already
the whole
compared
thing.
some of them, but I didn't compare it. I wanted to really break down the characters of it,
Yeah,
or Pennywise rather. But dude, Bill Skarsgård's nuts.
yeah.
Like he's pretty.
Yeah,
he's hard. To
I really
beat.
want to compare the two Pennywises. I think that's like my big thing.
Yeah, I
I
know.
wanna talk
Yeah,
we'll
we
get
about,
to we'll
but-
get to
We'll
it
get
soon.
to that.
But yeah. I mean, chapter 1 definitely. I mean, I think out of the 3, easily the best one.
Yeah,
I know you said chapter 2 yours favorite.
I'm very split between chapter 1 and chapter 2.
I respect
um,
that.
So I did want to talk about the monsters, or each kid's monster
Yeah.
in chapter 1. I thought that was very well thought out. Now, really, I really liked what they did with Richie's, because we don't see his fear in chapter 1. He just sees a clown. Remember?
Yeah,
And we do a little bit, like, he gets some creepy stuff, but, like, his is very much downplayed to the rest of them. Like, the rest of them have a very clear defining what scares the shit out of them,
Yeah.
right?
well, that's
And
where
then
they even say like
His is
one time,
creepy,
it's like,
but that's because we find his out in part 2.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, basically his fear is his secret, that he's gay. Which, he's not gay in the original, right? I don't think he's gay in the book either. He could be. I might have missed
well,
it.
no, he's not. So the
I
original,
didn't think
Wait.
it was.
the original, he's like essentially just like a virgin.
He's that's right. He's
like
a loner.
Yeah, so he's like kind of a loner. So like, there's that whole like people kind of thing. I mean, it was the '90s, so it's not like for there to be a
A
gay person in a film like that
Right.
would be very, very ahead of its time
Yes.
for the '90s.
But he's gay?
in part 2, he
Did you
is.
not
In
watch
chapter 2, he is.
Chapter 2? That's like...
No, I mean I know they made the joke, but I thought it was just high school bullies making a joke.
No. That was like the
They-
entire point. That's why he got so upset when he was like, and pardon my French, so I don't mean this in an offensive way, but he's like, get the fuck out of my arcade, you faggot. That's why it
Yeah.
hurt him so hard, was because he's gay. But he hid from that his whole life. Like, even in his adult life, he hid from that. So, like, how the hell did you miss that? That's like,
No, I never.
that's the whole
I never
point.
caught
You
that.
definitely
Yeah,
didn't
that's a
watch the
pretty big
movie.
one.
He definitely didn't watch it.
No, I watched the fucking movie. Like I know what happened. He was in the arcade playing with that dude. And he was
There's
playing
more
fucking
to it than
Street
that.
Well,
Fighter.
that one's even good too. Like the fact that like we can go into depth, like, but that one's good too because even if you think back to like if you think about chapter 1, like just
I mean, in
him cracking jokes and everything.
it's a defense mechanism.
And like, oh yeah, and like even like the one like so like they've all at this point they've all seen their fears, and this is where they're like at the park, and they're like they've all seen their fears, and like Eddie's like, oh, I saw a leper, blah blah blah, like a person with like a bunch of diseases.
Yeah.
And then like they're all like talking about it, and Richie's like, oh well, I guess only virgins can like see their fears, like acting like he like gets a bunch of action
Yeah.
and like all this stuff,
I still
and like he makes a bunch of sex jokes, which like
yeah,
I don't know, I mean
he's compensating.
it's part of like
It's-
being a boy, but like it's also like definitely
He's
kind
hiding.
of a
he's hiding his
cover-up
true
there for,
self.
like
yeah,
because
I
he's
mean,
not
he's
accepted what he's
yeah. I mean, it's you. I mean, it's common. He's overcompensating his sexuality
Yeah.
as being super into sex because he's gay. He doesn't know what he's feeling. He doesn't know how to like that. Like that's the whole point of Richie's character in the second one. And like, I mean, it's a risky move. Like it's a very risky move. You know what I mean? To change a character's personality that much. I wouldn't say it's risky. It has the potential to be a risky move. You know what I'm saying?
yeah
If you're throwing it in there to throw it in there, does that make sense? But like it fit so well, and it was immaculate for his character development. I really don't understand how Brent missed that because we get that in the
I just,
beginning.
like-
I could see how you miss it in chapter 1 because it's not apparent in
Yeah,
chapter
it's
1.
not apparent at all
It's
in
not-
chapter 1.
But it's the whole point of chapter 2.
I'm dumb and I don't catch. I don't catch on the context clues.
Well, okay, first off, in chapter 2, he's basically had a crush on Eddie his whole
Yeah, the
life.
whole time.
That's the whole reason he broke down. He tried to
Okay,
say
it makes
he's all over
It
Eddie.
makes sense. Like I thought about that when you said he was gay, but like beforehand, I thought it was just his friend dying.
So
like
you-
I
like-
never like.
What do you mean? But like his
I thought it was just like some like high school bullies, like because I know
No,
people
but,
in
like,
high school say that word fucking all the time.
no, I agree. But like,
What word?
but when when Pennywise is chasing him, he does not change form at all. He's just Pennywise. He's just his natural form. And he's like, I know your secret, your dirty little secret. And the secret's that he's fucking gay. Like, and like he's scared of not being accepted. Like, that's his thing. Like, Richie's whole thing is like, I mean, you see, it's very common. He overcompensates with comedy and overly sexualized jokes. The comedy is so that he'll be liked and accepted because he doesn't think he'll be accepted for being gay.
Yeah, but
that's also
wanna
why he
know
over
if you figured
sexualizes
this
the
out by
jokes is so that people don't think he's gay because he
I
doesn't.
want to know if you figured this out by watching the movie or you watched a video about it and you're like, oh,
What
that
do you
makes
mean?
sense.
No, Brent, it's in your face.
Brent, you need to go back
It's
and watch
really
the second
not,
No,
though.
Brent, go back and watch the second one.
It's not in the first one. You got to watch the second one.
I'm serious.
But
It's in the second one. It's very apparent.
I just watched the second one like a few days
Brent,
ago.
I always admit if I got the idea from a video, like that, like, you know, I'm thinking of ending things. 100%, all my opinions came from watching other people's stuff break it down, and I said that. This is very apparent that this is his thing. It just makes sense. But anyway,
I mean, it makes sense when you explain it to me, like the whole secret shit. It's just like I never like.
Were you
You
not
know,
curious
that's
as
not
to
what-
what the secret
that's-
was?
No, I guess that part went over my head too. I was like, okay, I'm just here to watch some people get murdered. I guess I didn't have my thinking cap on.
Okay, but anyway,
what
so,
is your to the first movie? I guess like in general, what is your favorite
fear?
fear?
First off, let's who is who. So because I want to make sure we don't forget any. So
Okay.
like what all did we have?
Okay.
So we had Richie's was gay, but we can't really.
Yeah,
we
it's not
didn't. We
really
don't
in
know
the
this is
first
the
one.
second one, so you can knock him out.
Okay.
Beverly's was her father.
Yes.
And
And
her father in blood.
Her father. Yeah, I mean, blood is in like.
father in blood, but that
She was like
I mean,
starting
but that,
to menstruate, so
That's the thing. That's what I was gonna say. It's like
she was
hers
becoming. Well, I think it's sorry to interrupt, but it's
I
a
think we're
big
going
part
to
of
the
it
same thing.
is like her. I mean, it has to go back to her dad
is correct.
because her dad doesn't want her to grow up.
Correct.
So she's afraid of having her period,
Yeah, I mean,
which again leads to
yeah,
tracking your period. Shout out, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then also just like the whole blood aspect in the sink, like obviously that marks
yeah. No, it's.
that
I mean,
it
that's
marks womanhood.
so like that's
So,
one of the
like,
biggest. Like, I mean,
definitely.
it's huge symbolism and placement and everything. Like, it makes sense. So
I'm
hers
so
is.
fucking dumb.
So
What do you mean? Why are you dumb?
did you not pick up on that either?
Did you
Now
not
that
pick up
one.
on the blood?
No, like I get she was scared of like having her period and shit of her dad, but the blood coming out of the sink did not like tie that for me.
Oh.
I'm so fucking dumb.
I mean, that one's I mean, it's less obvious. I get it. Like,
See, I feel it.
I mean, it's obvious, but like, I could see how you could see, you know, her becoming a woman and then the blood and just not making the two connections together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing.
I guess
Yeah, sorry,
Like,
Brandon.
if you're
guess
not
it's 'cause
picking
it
up the
was
symbolic
early-
reason of it.
it was early in the movie, so it's like I didn't have that idea that he was like preying on people's fears, so I just wasn't thinking
That's
about
fair.
it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so
I think
her,
the biggest catch is the fact that she literally had just bought. For me, like she had just bought tampons, and then
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
when she had come home. So like that was kind of the whole like where I drew the connection between the
so
two.
yeah, so hers is that.
Eddie's
Eddie's
is the disease.
Is disease, and that's the same in both films.
Yeah.
Eddie's is
His-
disease. We
his
see in the
clean freak
leopard.
and his mom's clean freak.
Ben used older pictures a lot. You know, where it zoomed in. They did it in the first. No, it was in the second one.
they did
you know
like
where it goes
once
a
in the
picture.
they did like once in the first time.
Yeah, and then they used all that, but you know, that was because he's reading all this historical stuff. His big thing is like history stuff.
Yeah.
So he read all this history stuff. Most of his was that base. Anyway, Bill's was Georgie. Stanley's was. What was Stanley's?
The woman from his dad's office. The painting from his dad's office.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the big one, tall woman with the weird face.
Yeah. That's all of them, right? Oh no, and then
Mike's
Mike's
is the burning victim.
Mike is the burned victims, which makes sense because
Yeah,
his
'cause
parents
his
died in the
parents
fire, and that's all of them, right? I mean, then we see other minor characters. We see the kid who goes missing to chase after them in the sewer. Very minor character, but his was zombies in the second one. Remember? Or no, yeah, in the first one when he's chasing them through the sewer, his was zombies. The long-haired kid,
Oh yeah, yeah.
the
yeah.
long-haired kid,
Yeah.
and then Henry's was his dad.
Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Henry's was his dad. but I don't know. I think the best one. I think the best one's Richie.
Oh yeah, that like pain.
But I'll
or
skip Richie
something.
because we don't see it till the second one. Other than that, I think I don't know. I really like the leper or the disease. Eddie's was pretty freaky. I think the one that scares me the most is, or that freaked me out the most, will probably be Richie, because in Richie, all we see in the first one is him. Is just the clown, and like I just don't do clowns. I don't like clowns. I think that's a big reason why I don't like or not that I don't like the first one. That the first one's scarier for me is because clowns are my thing. The
Yeah.
first one really focuses a lot more on the clowns
And Pennywise itself.
and Pennywise itself. The second one, not so much. I mean, obviously he's in it a lot,
Yeah.
but like we don't see as many clown forms in the second one as we do in the first one.
Yeah.
I think that's why that one freaked me out a little bit more. The first time I saw it in theaters, like chapter 1, like freaked me the fuck out. Like it was freaky. But I think that's a big reason. Yeah, Mike's was.
I do like.
It was really well done. I feel like his was really well done.
like not my favorite because we're not like putting Richie in there, but like I do like in the second one how since he didn't really have a fear, now thinking about it now, like I just like how he sits down and pretty much has a conversation with Pennywise. I think that was kind of cool. Sorry, I stopped because I couldn't figure out if we were like disconnected or not. No, I think my favorite's Mike. I was just saying I think I like how in the second one, instead of getting like a scare scene, he just kind of like talks to Pennywise a little bit. I mean, yeah, but they're like, they're talking. But like, I think my favorite fear in the first one's Mike's. I think that one's kind of like, that one's really freaky. Of just like fucking like, because I mean, I think that's got to be like one of the hardest, honestly. Is like your parents fucking died in the fire, so like you're haunted by like people screaming out of a fire. That one I feel like probably
Yeah.
hits the most.
they really
out of
played
all.
that really well.
Besides maybe Georgie, I think like Mike's parents hits the most.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the Georgie aspect.
Yeah, the Georgia one's pretty good. I mean, actually, I think that really shows Bill. See, I don't know. Bill's character development is really good. I mean, it's obviously written like that because of Stephen King. I mean, obviously, most of this goes back. I mean, it's written the way it is in the book. But Bill's character development, his fear stays the same, and his characteristic stays the same the whole time. Because Bill, even though he's terrified of it, because his stutter comes back, right? Mike's the one who brought them all back in chapter 2. Bill is the one who tries to keep them to stay. And it's because, remember? And like he tried to save the other boy too. So Bill's big thing is
That part fucked me up.
He's got a heart, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's fucking terrified, but he doesn't want to hurt anyone else. Like, all the time everyone's like, I wish it would have taken me instead, for whatever you're talking about. Type deal.
Yeah.
Bill means it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
for
he's
sure.
very much a selfless person. Do you have a favorite one, Sam? I don't know if you said.
Oh, yeah, I already said Georgie's.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Also, this wasn't expanded on. This is in the books. Makes sense as why it wasn't in the movies. Like the fucking. I don't know if you're aware of the sex scene.
Yeah, that
It goes
whole
on,
like
like,
fucking
everyone's aware of
orgy
this.
or
Everyone's
some
aware.
shit.
That's
Yeah.
fucking weird. Stephen King throws some shit in there like that in almost
He
every
always does
book.
that
It's
shit.
always somewhere, and like in the movies, they're like, I'm not
They're
gonna
like,
have a sex scene,
we're
a
just gonna
fucking
leave that
13-year-old,
out.
a
Yeah.
13-year-old orgy. He's like, they can just cut their hands to prove loyalty. It's fine.
Yeah.
But like, also Rip, like, the whole Ben, Beverly, and Bill love triangle. It's kind of sad. It's not really so much of a love triangle. It's more of a Beverly likes Bill, Bill likes Beverly, or Beverly likes Bill, Ben likes Beverly. Beverly thinks Bill likes Beverly, but it's really Ben, and she's just kind of oblivious the whole time. But she also has a little bit of thing for Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she also is very friendly with all of them, not like in a weird way, but like if you
Yeah,
just
when
hang around.
she's a girl amongst a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, but you know what I mean though.
Yeah.
Like
In
poor Ben.
chapter 2, they don't really focus on Bill's wife as much as they do in the original.
Yeah, the original really focuses
Yeah,
on
they
Bill's
definitely
wife.
dropped a couple people.
All right. Let's jump to chapter 2.
Real quick, I want to talk
We're
about my
gonna-
favorite.
We're gonna rate chapter 1.
Oh yeah, let's rate chapter
My
1.
favorite scene in chapter 1, I think, is where like Pennywise comes out of the fucking projector. Like, I think that's like the most
That
badass
scene.
scene.
That one's good. I'd say, dude, the projector or the fridge one's
Yeah,
pretty
the
sick,
fridge
too.
one's really dope.
with the head.
No, when he crawls out of the fridge, he like
Oh, where he's all like
Yeah,
like
contorted in
Eddie's
there?
like Eddie like fell or something and like laying on the ground with like a broken hand, and he like opens the fridge and like crawls out of it.
So when he's doing the Pennywise the dancing clown signature dance, you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Where he's like on, his arms extended up and down. I like that scene. He's doing it, and then he starts doing it faster, and then he's like, his head starts going like all crooked and
With
shit,
the one where like,
and then like his mouth.
the one where like Beverly's there and he's like on the stage.
Yes, yeah, and he's like coming at you really fast, and he like contorts and stuff. I mean, I don't. All
That
the
one- that
CGI
one was
Pennywise
freaky.
scenes, they're all creepy. They're all pretty spot on the fucking nail. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, they
they're all
killed it.
good.
That's why I
Yeah.
fucking love It Chapter 1. It's like you all know I don't like horror, but I love when things are like
That's
not
why I don't
scary,
get it,
but, like,
Brent. Because this movie's fucking
no,
terrifying.
like it's really fucking creepy, and that's what I really enjoy. Like it's not scary. Like I really enjoy like a lot of the really creepy kind of like aspects of it. Like everything Pennywise does is just it's freaky enough to where it's creepy to me, and I'm like, oh shit, that's fucking cool. But it's not like terrifying me. I think the only thing that really terrifies me is when he goes and like eats innocent kids. That's where it kind of plays on my anxiety fear a little bit. But like, luckily those are like few and far between.
Brent's not innocent anymore.
Hmm?
He's not innocent.
oh,
What are
Yeah,
you
I
talking
guess.
about?
you're not.
Talking about you not being a virgin.
Damn. What the fuck? How did that come up when I was talking about fucking horror?
Because you're fucking whores. I don't know what you expect me to say, Brent.
All right. Let's rate chapter 1. Unless there's anything
Okay,
else you want to
go
do,
ahead.
because we gotta move on a little bit quicker.
Go ahead.
Fuck. Chapter 1, minimum 9 out of 10. I on Letterboxd I gave it a 4.5. I
Mhm.
think I may have given it a 5. It may have been one that I dubbed 5 worthy. But I'll call it 4.5. If I'm wrong on Letterboxd, we can call it out. But pretty sure it was. I mean, 4.5. I mean, the movie's just incredible. It is just it's almost it. I mean, it's borderline flawless movie. I would say it is a flawless horror movie because you don't see a lot of horror movies that are that good.
Yeah.
I agree.
4.5 out of 5.
I mean, Letterbox, it'd be a 5 out of 5. Rating out of 10, like a 9.7. I mean, I think it's pretty flawless. Like I said, like it's probably I can think of one other horror movie that I would put above it.
What's that?
I'd put The Shining above it. But besides that,
See, The Shining's good. I think the reason I would agree with you. The Shining might be over above it, and I think the only reason is because The Shining is as old as it is,
it's still amazing.
and it fucking holds up.
Yeah, that's
it
my biggest
fucking-
reason The Shining is so high. Is
Yeah.
because the
No, I
movie's so
totally
old.
agree. It ages very well.
It's still, like,
it
one of the
ages
best horror
very very
movies.
well.
But yeah, so probably like a 9.7, maybe the lowest, like a 9.5, but easily like well in the nines. Definitely one of the best horror movies.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Brent, what'd you put it at?
10 out of 10. Definitely like
10 out of 10. You said 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. I fucking
An
love
easy
this
10 out of
movie. I fucking love this movie. It really like
all
hinges
right.
on the creepiness a little bit, and it's fucking cool.
Okay, on to chapter 2. I think we can fly through chapter 2 pretty
'Cause we
quick
talked about
because
it a lot.
we've referenced it a lot.
Let's just hop into.
Do you want to just hop into the comparison? I don't think there's anything.
Well, let's go over like our.
Wait.
What's your favorite scene in chapter 2?
Favorite scene from chapter 2. It's a good question. I need to start making notes because like when I was watching it, every time I watch a movie, I'm like, for the podcast, I'm like, I'm gonna take some notes. But then I'm like, I see the scene and I'm like, I should take a note on this. I'm like, that's so good. I'm not gonna forget it.
Yeah.
And then I forget it when we go to talk about it, and I'll remember it afterwards. I don't know how many talking points I had on the last one that I should have said.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the same for everybody. But favorite scene.
I don't really
talking
have
horror
one.
scene, any scene. I really
Any scene. Give me any scene.
I liked the scene with Stephen King himself. He's a shopkeeper in the pawn
Okay.
shop.
I respect that.
Um,
Oh, that's Stephen
really
King.
like- yeah, that's Stephen King. The bookkeeper
That's cool.
and the shopkeeper. I mean, so that's Stephen King. I like he goes in. He's like, dude, that's my. He's like, that's my fucking bike. And he's like, can you not put the mouth? Is the language necessary? And then anyway, and then he starts stuttering again. And he's like, how much for the bike? And he's like, I don't know. It's pretty good. I really like that scene because it plays on to. Actually, I'm jumping, and I always do this.
Yes, I know.
Okay, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I really like the beginning of chapter 2. I thought what they did with the adults showing all of what they do, incredible, and then the buffet scene is probably my favorite scene. I think when
Yeah,
they're reunited.
That was a fun
See,
scene.
that one's up there.
The
That one's up
buffet
there for
scene's
sure.
really good. But anyway, so I'm gonna go back to why the bike scene might be my favorite. One, Stephen King's in it, and he's a pretty good actor for the small role he has. But I really like it because he's like, I mean, no, it's funny. It's a really good comic relief scene, right?
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, how much for the bike? And then he realizes, and he's like, hey, he realizes he's reading his book because he's an author.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, that's my book. He's like, hey, would you like me to sign it? And he's like, no, thanks. And then he's
Yeah, he's like the
oh, well,
ending
how much
sucked
for the?
anyway.
Yo, yeah, he's like, how much for the bike? And he's like, 300. And he's like, that's kind of high. He's like, you're the big time author. You can afford it.
Yeah. Well, I love the whole
But then the whole, and then he's like, you didn't like the ending, did you? And he's like, I didn't like the ending. Well, that's
the whole comparison. Like,
Well, that's a touch-
Stephen King, anyways, because all his
yeah,
endings
that's
suck.
a touchback. A lot of people are not fans of his endings, and he even himself has said he's not good at he feels like his biggest flaw is writing endings for books.
What's where Bill's whole character they always say is like
Yeah,
a
that's the whole
direct
point. So that's a
direct reflection of Stephen King.
Yeah, but that's why I like that scene so much. But if not, it's probably the buffet scene, or I don't know. I can't think of another. It's probably the
I
buffet
respect
scene.
the buffet scene selection. What about you, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is the buffet scene because that's the only one. Like, the reason I don't like chapter 2 as much, like, I don't hate it, but it's like thinking about it now, there's no memorable scenes for me. In chapter 1, I can call out so many scenes that I loved so much that were fun. In chapter 2, it's like the buffet scene is like the only one I can really call out. I'm like, oh, that was cool. The only other scenes I like that I can call out are ones that just like look cool, like where like the balloons surround Pennywise. But that's just a fucking 4K eye porn thing that I enjoy. It's not like a cool scene, you know? If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I think the final fight between them where he like goes like full fucking spider or whatever.
That
Yeah.
did look
Ooh,
kind of cool.
I think that's pretty dope.
That's another touchback I wanted to make. Anyway, go ahead if she had something.
I think that one's cool. I mean, I do like I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but like to like the trailer, like the whole where Bill's character's running through like the glass maze trying to chase the kid.
And
And,
that's
like,
a good fucking
Pe-
scene too.
Pennywise in that scene is good.
Dude, when that
scene
kid
creeps me
got
out.
eaten,
I'll
that
give you
fucked
one.
me
That's
up.
a good one.
That really fucked me
Yeah.
up when that kid got eaten.
Because
See,
like I mean, and the buffet scene is very very good, but
that's one thing.
those two the other two are pretty tough.
That's one thing I forget about Stephen King and even Stephen King movies is like, you know, we're so used to in movies, even if bad shit happens, you know what I mean? Like you always kind of get like a happy ending type deal, or like the worst of the worst doesn't always happen. You know what I mean? So like when I watched that scene the first time with the kid, I was like, oh okay. I mean, like he's gonna interact with Pennywise, but like, I fully was not expecting him to just fucking swallow that kid.
Mm.
So, but that's what I forget. But like the other touch, the scene, you know, were you referencing the scene with? Actually no, this was in chapter 1. Where was it in chapter 2? Where Stanley's head? It's in chapter 1. Where Stanley's head grows the spider claws out of it. Remember?
Yeah.
In the
no.
house.
No, I'm not referencing that one.
Yeah, I figured that out. But anyway, I was gonna say because.
That was chapter 2, I think.
No, it's chapter 1. Because
No,
I watched
that
that one,
was-
the most recent one.
That was chapter 2 because I didn't watch chapter 1 like within this last week. I watched.
Truth comes out. He didn't
No,
watch it, you guys.
I watched
knew
chapter.
it.
For one, I've seen chapter 2 like fucking 10 times. I mean, chapter 1 like 10 times.
Cap.
But
You
I
have
watched chapter 1 like fucking a couple weeks ago. But chapter 2 I watched like last fucking week, and I remember that it was like
Maybe it was. But anyway,
because Stan had killed himself. That's why it was the big thing.
yeah. But also, that scene itself is a direct reference to. I mean, it does it in the original one too. In the 1990s one that we see that scene as well. It's not as good, but that's a reference to. I think it's The Thing. I could be wrong, but an older horror movie that's an iconic scene from it. 99% sure it's The Thing. But in both movies we see Stanley as the spider, and we see his headless corpse, or not corpse, his head in the freezer as well. That goes back in both. Yeah, those are some pretty solid scenes.
How would you rate the second one?
Second one, see, like I said, I feel like it's structured better. As far as I liked the adult storyline better, but that could just be because that could also be me. You know, the adult storyline was really weak in the original, and I may have been expecting it, so my expectations were a tad lower because of the weak adult storyline, and I was still blown away with it. Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying.
It's still minimum a 9. I'd give it a 9.
I could have swore Ethan was one of the people telling me that chapter 2 wasn't that good.
No, I never said chapter 2 wasn't good.
Yeah. I don't think chapter 2
I mean,
is
I'm a
chapter
huge
1.
Stephen King fan. As far I say that, I know I'm gonna get a lot of shit, especially when my dad and my brother listen to this, because you know they always I don't read, but I call myself a huge Stephen King fan.
Yeah.
I feel like you can be both, because like one, I don't claim to read it. I've read 1.5 Stephen King books at best, but like all his movies, storylines, I mean, they're nuts. But anyway, I'm a really big Stephen King movie fan. We'll put it that way. But no, it's great. I'd give it a 9. Yeah, 9.
What about you, Brent?
I don't know. A 7 maybe? Like I'm not too big on it, but like it's still I walked
7?
out
That's
being like
fucking low.
there's nothing I
It's
can
not that
criticize
good.
about it, but I just didn't vibe with it as much. Like I don't really hate
I don't
it.
have
It's
any
just like
criticisms of it.
like
but
I could
it's
put
a
it on
7.
again.
It's not like blowing away. It's like blowing you away.
Yeah, and I think that's the only thing I dislike about it is that it didn't blow me away like the first one. Like it's not a bad movie. It's just kind of like
I mean,
I guess that story didn't
7
really
feels
speak
like a
for
bad
me
movie
as
to me.
much. One
Now,
thing
see,
I
I'm with
really
Brent
didn't
on
like
this one.
though, one thing I didn't like is in the final scene where they're all just screaming clown. Like that guy kind of
yeah, it was kind
annoying.
of cheesy. That was kind of cheesy. I'll give you that.
Like I get what they're doing, like they're supposed to bring him down, but I wish they would say different shit instead of just clown the entire time.
Well, I mean, they did, and then
Yeah,
they
and then
ended on
they
clown.
just
were calling him
stopped.
they were calling him like fucking loser, low life. You know, you're small. You're like that shit.
Yeah,
then,
and
like,
that
ended
was
on just
fine, and
clown.
then they just kept saying clown for like another 30 seconds.
I don't know. I get what you're saying though. It was kind of weird. It was kind of odd.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with Brent on this one as far as the rating goes. I just think,
Would you give it as low as a 7?
I think it's like a 7.6 ish range.
No.
I don't think it hits 8.
Dude,
I just
it
don't think
definitely
it,
hits 8.
bro. It doesn't like knock your socks off. Like
Dude,
it's
it
not.
knocked my socks off. What do you
I don't know what chapter 2 you watch, but
It chapter 2.
yeah, but it definitely not. I mean, it's not anything close to what the first one was.
All right, if you say so.
So, I mean, everyone has their own opinions. That's why we have the podcast.
Do
So.
you have anything else, or do you
No,
go
we
into
can
the
jump right
comparison?
into some quick comparisons.
So, my big comparison, the one I'm
Hold
going to
on,
start with it.
Before
You
we
can
do
make any
this,
comparison
before we do
between
this,
the
I want to.
originals and chapter 2s.
All right, what were you saying?
Yeah,
Brett?
we're gonna jump into some Twitter handles.
Oh,
Yeah,
are we? Oh.
we have some Twitter reviews. If you follow us at DUO Podcast, we're gonna start asking for your reviews of movies. So
I didn't even know we did this.
I made a little call to action. I said leave your 280 character review down below, and then I also gave a little poll of which Pennywise you like better, but we'll save that till the end. I have a review
Wait, you were
from.
disappointed in the poll?
I just said
All right.
we'll save that to the end.
Yeah.
My friend Trevor said 92 isn't great, but tells a really good story I love. Chapter 1 was fantastic.
92?
Yeah,
Somewhere
he keeps saying 92, but Letterboxd says 90, so I'm confused.
Oh, I don't know. I just didn't know what you meant by 92. Okay, continue.
92 isn't great, but tells a story I love. Chapter 1 was fantastic, and everyone involved did a good job. I want the time back I spent watching Chapter 2. Actors were great, but had zero chemistry.
I disagree.
And then
I appreciate them taking the time to respond. But
and
I
I
disagree.
responded to him saying something, and then he said 92 was made for a movie after all, because I said something about it just lacking. And he was like, I would actually still watch it over the others if I want to experience the story, which was a weird take, but
It's a very hot take. It's a very...
But either way, I respect
hot take.
Trevor's opinion, so thanks for writing in.
I don't, but it is what it is.
And then
Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you, Trevor.
And then my friend wrote in. I don't know what they want to be called because they have a lot of names they go by. But they said, Tim was never scary to me. I used to laugh so hard when his Pennywise came on screen. Bills unsettled me so bad that I can't even look at a poster without feeling fear deep in my stomach.
See, I agree and disagree. I agree that Bills is just overall creepy, but I'm going to get into this when we do the comparison. But Tim Curry's clown still scared the fuck out of me.
I'll get into it.
But
And
anyway,
then
another one.
Our good friend Noah rounds us off with his very concise review. He said, "Clown scary, man, weird and rapey, kid good."
Wait, repeat that. I talked over you, or I laughed over
Said,
you rather.
I can't even. Say, clown scary, man, weird and rapey, kid good, beat up gay men against Twitter rules, clown bad.
I mean,
He's not wrong.
it's a very short, accurate depiction. So, thank you, Noah. All right, thank you for those who. So, what was the poll? What was the poll? Thanks to everyone who responded to that. But I haven't seen the poll because I don't have Twitter. I need to
Pretty
get
much just
Twitter.
asking about your thoughts on the It movies, saying we'll review them, and then we asked which Pennywise was people's favorite.
And people said,
With
So,
final results, with 20 votes, Tim Curry wins by 70%.
"Really?
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
is that how you feel?
That is not how I feel." And see, I feel like, my question here to everyone who voted that.
I feel
Do
it's a
you
little
honest?
nostalgia.
No. Nostalgia was part of my question, is if that has a role to play. But also, do you really feel that way, or were you told to feel that way? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, I hate saying as a society, but as a society, especially a group like movie lovers, we're told originals are better than remakes all the time, no matter what. Classics always win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like it is basically an unspoken rule that originals and classics are better than remakes, which I feel like I agree with that most of the time, but it also hurts the movie industry because sometimes you don't allow yourself to like new things because they're remakes.
Yeah, I think
For the most part, sometimes.
some people
I-
some people definitely kind of like steer towards like, oh, it's a remake, it's got to be bad. Like they kind of hold themselves to the original. I think.
No, some people live by that.
Yeah.
No, like you're allowed to like Tim Curry. Like if you genuinely like him more, that's fine. It's just
No,
feel like
I agree. I could understand how you would, but
I feel some
I'm not
people
saying
don't give newer
you know,
things a chance.
that was my point. I'm not saying people are wrong for having that opinion. I'm saying sometimes we're just told, and like sometimes it's subconscious, but sometimes we're told that we should like older better than newer when it comes to remakes and stuff. So sometimes I feel like your subconscious, I mean, I've been guilty of it, wouldn't allow you to like the older movies as much. Perfect example. This is gonna be a short example. Perfect example is Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whole time upbringing, prequels are shit. They're fucking horrible. They're ass movies. They're not that great. I don't hate the prequels. I think they're lesser. I will agree that they are definitely lesser and not as good, but they're not bad. They
Prequels
really
are
aren't.
really enjoyable.
Some of them
with
are bad.
weird
Some of them
writing.
have bad scenes. Like I would say the Phantom Menace is bad, but like for the longest time, like I would tell people that I hate the prequels. The prequels aren't any good. I dislike them. They're not any good. But in reality, now looking back, I don't hate them that much. But a big portion of my previous opinion was based on the fact that I've been told that I should hate the prequels. So I feel like a lot of times,
I agree with
not that
that.
anyone's saying that we should hate the new Pennywise, but like we're told that we should like originals more than remakes. So I feel like that might come into fact. Not saying I totally understand how you could like Tim Curry more. Like they both have their pros and cons, but I just want to know if people have taken that into consideration.
Yeah, I mean,
Personally, I like Bill Skarsgård's better. I think his is creepier.
yeah,
There
I
are
think
some
my,
aspects. I mean, we're gonna get into that when we get into comparison, so I'll just save that.
We're in
Is-
comparison.
Are we
Yeah,
in
it's
comparison?
pretty
Can I
much
go
what
ahead
we
and just
are now.
compare? Okay, I'm gonna give my comparison of the two. So, Bill Skarsgård's creepy and scariness level, as opposed to Tim Curry, Bill Skarsgård has it. Easy, no question. Personality of the clown, or of Pennywise. I really feel like Tim Curry's personality, they both have it, but I feel like Tim Curry's has it more.
Okay, let me get into mine
For
real
me.
quick because it
Well,
correlates
hang
with
on,
what you're
but-
saying.
Real quick, I just want to say what I mean by personality. So like when we see Tim Curry coaxing Georgie the first time, he doesn't really give like Bill Skarsgård's, he's creepier from the start. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's got the evil eyes, he's got that creepy grin, he's already got like the kind of yellow teeth. Tim Curry's clown, when he's coaxing Georgie the first time, does not give the creepy vibe. Like, he is a clown. He's scary, and he's scary to us because we know he's supposed to be scary. But, like, as a kid, you might not see that clown as scary because he is, but that's his big thing. That's how he gets people in the original one is personality-wise. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like
I see
the
what you're saying,
entirety
yes.
of Bill Skarsgård's one is just creepy and scary throughout, which is fine. It's a different stylistic choice, but I feel like personality wise, I would go with Tim Curry as opposed to Bill Skarsgård.
All right, let me say this real quick and like give me kind of like my time to speak real quick because I'll tie in all my points together. My big thing is Pennywise is an alien. Like like it is an alien. So hold
yeah.
on, listen. My big thing is that I feel like Tim Curry was really enjoyable to watch, but he was too enjoyable in my opinion because I feel like he didn't act like an alien trying to eat people. Like he acted like a clown trying to like have fun with people and like scare people obviously, but he did good as Pennywise, but it's like you have to remember that under that is like this weird like alien who wants to eat people, I guess. So
Yeah.
I think that's what Bill Skarsgård really brings to the table. Like he really comes off as like an alien, like this weird, like really creepy guy who's going to eat you. Sometimes Tim Curry doesn't look like he's going to eat you.
See, I get real quick. I know you got a bunch of points you're tying together, but like that, I totally agree with what you're saying. But that's my point though. That's why Tim Curry gets the point for personality for me, is because I guess technically he's I'm not sure but whatever. Yeah, he's a monster. He can take different forms, but that's where he gets the personality for me because he uses his personality to coax, children. You know what I mean? Like that's where he uses the personality aspect. So that's why he gets the personality for me because he is a monster, but it gets to the point to where he made the conscious decision to take that form of a less scary clown and a more approachable one. Part of that is a personality choice that they chose when making the movie, but also part of that is because it's easier to do with the tools and the skills that they were given the time period. But that's why he gets the point for me is because he used his personality to his advantage. Does that make sense?
I guess, but like I think if the movie was about a killer clown, I think Tim Curry would be better because he like can coerce people and just like have fun as a clown. But the movie is about it, so
No,
I think,
I agree,
I
but
think as
also-
it, Bill Skarsgård really kind of like just describes that more. Also, I like how Bill Skarsgård kind of like with that creepy edge, like when he fucks with like the cast, like it just feels more kind of like genuine to me than like Tim Curry just seems like he's having a good time with people, which is fine, but it's like it genuinely feels like Bill Skarsgård is like just fucking with everybody, kind of being like, hey, you're mad about Georgie, or kind of like where he's like, oh, I know your secret, Richie. Like, it feels more genuinely like frightening to me when Bill Skarsgård fucks with people, like by knowing things about them, like kind of like they're friends in a way where he still wants to kill them, but it's like he knows so much shit about them, like he knows they're the group trying to kill him, so it's kind of like they have some connection, I guess. And I think Bill Skarsgård really kind of like messes with that a lot, to where it still comes off as like, hey, he knows these guys, but he's still fucking with them, like trying to kill them in a creepy way. I think that vibe kind of comes off more than what Tim Curry does.
No, I agree. I mean, I definitely hear you. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but like, you're saying Tim Curry's more focuses on the clown aspect than Bill. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard comparison, but anyway, I get where you're coming from. What about you, Sam? Like, where do you fall on the whole Bill Skarsgård, Tim Curry?
I'm kind of with Brent. I really like Bill's character. Just like, as a whole, like I think playing the whole creepy vibe, like, does
definitely
it
pulls
way
creepy
better
off
of a
better.
job. Personally, I mean, it could be a little bit like, it could be like going to the fact that like the CGI is more advanced, so like you get like every aspect of it.
I mean,
like,
most of it wasn't CGI'd other than the mouth, though, still. Like, most of, like, other than the eyes and the mouth, even on Bill Skarsgård's character, except when his head contorted,
that was,
or
he,
anything.
like, opens in half.
Yeah, when it opens and everything. Other than that, like, like the lip movements. I mean,
that's all him,
It's
I know.
makeup, but, like, the lip movements, the eyes, the mannerisms is just, that's all him.
I mean, I like him better than...
No, I agree.
I mean, I was surprised that our poll went as skewed.
I would have
Tim
thought it would
Curry
have been
as
more
it
half
was.
and half. I really did.
Yeah.
So did
it was
I.
50-50 for a while, and then like the last day it shot up. Like right before final results, it shot up for Tim Curry.
But I will say Bill Skarsgård's voice of Pennywise is creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Tim Curry's didn't really do much for me as far as the creepiness level.
I agree.
Like-
Tim Curry kind of sounds like an old smoker. Like his Pennywise voice kind of.
No, I agree, but here's the thing. Right now, if I think about it, I have a hard time hearing Tim Curry's. I don't, for a second, can I not think of what Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise sounds like. Like, it sticks in your head. It's fucking creepy. It would scare the hell out of me if I heard it in the middle of the night. Like, I feel like his big playing points are his voice, like his just creepiness aspect is just what sells it for me. That's what pushes him over the edge. But the voice, man, the voice creeps the fuck out of me. Like absolutely.
Thinking in my head right now, like thinking of them saying "you want a balloon," I think Bill Skarsgård's fits in my head way more, and it kind of sounds more creepy.
No, 100%. When I think about it, I can hear Bill Skarsgård's. I can't hear Tim Curry's. Not because it wasn't good, but just his. It's like, some things are just iconic and they stick. His voice as Pennywise will forever stick. It'll be iconic. You know what I mean? Like it's very memorable. Like there's some things that just stick. That's gonna be one of them.
Yeah,
I think the Tim Curry scene that really enforces my opinion on him having too much fun, which it's still really fun to watch, but it's like I have to put myself in this kind of like mindset again. But like the scene where he's having too much fun, I think, is in part 2 of the original, where Richie's in the library and like Pennywise is on top and he's like screaming at him and he's like having fun and he's kind of like the balloons are going everywhere.
The library scene?
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene. Oh, we didn't even talk about favorite scenes from the original. That's mostly renowned as far as
it's a fun
that's
scene
the
to
most
watch,
iconic scene. Well, that's the most iconic scene from that movie. Like that's most people's. But if you ask, the average person, what's your favorite scene from the 1990s? They're gonna say that scene, and whether if it's their favorite or not, you might not know. But that's definitely the most memorable scene from that movie. I will say that scene was pretty fucking creepy.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because I did have fun watching it, but it's like I still think it's too much fun for the character.
That one I disagree with. That scene was creepy. That scene is the one that stuck with me. I hadn't seen the movie since I was a kid, and not once did I forget that scene. So that scene was creepy to me then, and when I rewatched it the other day, it was creepy to me now. So that scene, I feel like I don't think it was too fun. That one was fucking creepy to me.
I guess. I mean, maybe I don't have as much as attachment because I've seen it as a kid, but like I have a hard kind of like stop. Like I'll barely remember a movie I watched if it was before 2015. Like before, if it's anything before that, I barely remember the movie. So I've seen it a little as a kid,
I
but
feel that.
my main viewing was like a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Anyway, we should probably start to wrap it up because we did run really long on this one.
Yeah.
But we knew we were going to, but we're
Yeah,
almost
we
at
discussed 3 movies.
we're almost at an hour 40. But
Thank you
anyway.
all for tuning in.
thank you for listening. I really like this episode.
Thank you all who voted on Twitter. If you are listening, you'd like to get involved in some of our polls and leaving your own reviews, you can follow us on Twitter at the UO Podcast. We're also on Instagram at the Uncultured Opinions.
What is next week's? Before I forget,
Ghostbusters.
Next week will be Ghostbusters.
I thought we had
The-
one between Ghostbusters.
No,
Or no, the third week's one.
Ghostbusters 1, 2, and the remake with the women.
2016.
We'll try to not go as long as that one, even though.
So
I feel like we
go
won't.
go ahead and
We'll
watch
probably do
those.
that.
It's not
if
as
you
much
wanna
to
review it.
dissect.
Review
Yeah.
them with us. Follow our Twitter. We'll give you. I'll figure out some poll, some fun
Yeah.
poll to kind of.
We'll get some
like,
polls going. We can do some stuff on Instagram and stuff as well. But anyway, we're gonna cut it off here because we ran long. But thank you for listening. I guess we'll see you next week. Hopefully.
Yep.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.